And if you think about 2 months in the scheme of things, if you could consistently say these affirmations, these positive money mindset affirmations on a daily basis for as little as 66 days in a whole year, just think about where you're going to be in 12 months' time. Knowing this information could change your life. And it's the information that you need to have a money mindset and attract money, wealth, and abundance into your life. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to talk about the money mindset. We're going to talk about where your limiting beliefs come from and how you can change them. We're going to talk about how you can put yourself into a money mindset more often and therefore attract wealth into your life. And it's not as difficult as you might think. So the first thing we need to look at is basically, how do you feel about money? How do you feel about money? Do you feel happy about money? Do you love money? Well, most of us will probably say, yes, we love money. But think about it in a bit deeper detail, a little bit of a different perspective. How do you feel when you see rich people on the TV? Now let's take, for example, some really rich people like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, like Donald Trump. How do you feel when you see them on the news or on social media? Do you look at them and think, I'm envious of how much money they have. It's not fair that they're so rich. They could solve world hunger and poverty if only they would donate that money. How do you view them as rich people? How do you view the money that they've accumulated? Now, if you feel any negative emotion towards those people, and I'm not saying that I don't either, because I do also sometimes look at those people and think, they could do a little bit more to help the planet. But if you look at those people and these wells of negative emotion come up inside you, then you don't have a good money mindset. Now, what about on the other side of things? Let's say that suddenly tomorrow you won the lottery. You won maybe, I don't know, $10 million, pounds, euros, whatever it might be. Let's say you won 10 million. How would you feel about having that 10 million? Now, your initial feeling might be, oh God, that would be fantastic. But then dig a little deeper. How would you feel about your friends and family knowing about that? Would you be worried that your friends and family would view you in a different way? Would you be worried about becoming a not so nice person? Do you think that that money might corrupt you in some kind of way? Are you afraid to spend that money? Are you afraid that you would squander that money and, like 60% of most lottery winners, end up with less money afterwards than you had before? Again, if you have any of those kind of fears or thoughts or limiting beliefs, your money mindset isn't good and you're not going to manifest wealth and abundance. What about the feeling of having money in your bank account right now, or the feeling of not having money in your bank account right now? How do you feel about that? When you open up your bank balance, when you see it on the screen or you see it on your app or you go into the bank if you're old-fashioned, how do you feel when you see that bank balance? Do you feel like, well, it could be more? Or do you feel like, oh, it's not enough? Or do you feel like, oh, I've got lots of money, but I'm afraid that something's going to happen, so I have to keep it in my bank account for that one emergency that might happen? If you feel like that, again, you don't have a good money mindset. The thing is, we have all these preconceptions about money. And here's the clincher. Here's the thing that you really need to know. The perceptions, the beliefs, everything that you think about money, when it's a negative belief, actually even when it's a positive belief, but most of us do have negative beliefs about money. If you have that negative belief, it's not your fault. It's not even your belief. Isn't that a great thing to know? Think about when you were a kid. Now, if I give you my example, which I've mentioned in previous videos, and this is something that I dug up through lots of coaching with my own coach and lots of money mindset training. So I grew up in a house that was pretty poor. We didn't have very much money. We got by. There was always food on the table. The bills were paid. But as a kid, I really noticed that we didn't have money. We had less money than my friends did. We never went on holiday, not really. I could never go on the school trips that the kids went on, skiing trips every year, or they did this and that. I could never do that. The presents that I got for Christmas always came from the cheap shop, that kind of thing. There were presents all the time, but they came from the cheap places. And I noticed that we didn't really have as much money as other people that I knew, the parents of the kids that I went to school with. And the thing that I also noticed was that my parents worked really hard all the time, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, often more than one job, to just bring in enough money to put food on the table. And I thought that was my misconception, my limiting belief, that you had to work hard to get money, and if you worked hard, you could put food on the table and everything would be all right. And you know what happened? It wasn't all right. I won't go into that story right now because that's a tragic story, but things weren't all right. And that is the misconception, that is the limiting belief that very many of us in the Western world grow up with. We think that money doesn't grow on trees, that everybody is always earning more money than us, the grass is always greener on the other side. We see rich people and we feel that it's not fair that they have all the money and we don't. We've got all these limiting beliefs about money, and we absorb them from the significant adults around us, usually between the ages of 0 when we're born to about 7 or 8 years old. Obviously through life you gain experience, and you can have experiences that help to form misconceptions about money, but most of what we believe about ourselves, about love, about affection, about money, about relationships, whatever it might be, is formed in that first 7 years of life. So think back to when you were a kid. When you were a kid, what was the money energy around you? What kind of things did you hear from your significant adults, from your parents, from your guardians, whoever it might be, or maybe you were in a home or something like that? What was the kind of money energy that was going on around you at the time? Was it a positive money energy? Because here's the thing, here's the clincher. When you see rich kids, when you see kids that went to private school, or their parents just come from a wealthy background, or maybe they just come from family money, they don't think about money. They just know that the next money that they need is just going to turn up because it does. They don't think, or they don't worry about being in poverty, because that's just not something that happens to their family. And it's really interesting to watch once you take yourself out and watch what's going on within families who are perpetually in a lack of money, and families who are always having money coming in because of whether it came from business or from family or inherited or whatever. The mindset is so hugely different for these people. Even the children know that they're cared for, that the money's coming in. Might not be love and affection coming in some cases, but the money's coming in. They're never worrying about whether there's going to be food on the table or not. And that energy is not being passed down from their parents to child, because the parents are not worried about whether there's food on the table, because they're not. The energy, that thought, that lack is just not there. And it's very interesting to watch. Now, my situation as well is that I grew up on a country estate in the UK where the people who owned the estate were super, super, super rich, that nobody would ever have heard of because they're more rich than they would ever see in the newspapers. And I saw them never ever worrying about money. They're the type of people who don't have cash in their pocket ever because they just don't need it, because everything is provided for them. And there was my family struggling to put food on the table, working for these people. So the dynamic, the belief, the limiting beliefs I had around money as I was going through my 20s was built on that foundation, because that is what I knew. Now, when you know that the misconceptions, the limiting beliefs that you have around money are not your own, then you can give yourself permission to let them go. Now, the key thing to do here, the thing that is key to do, the thing that to remember to do to basically turn this around, because I know it's easier said than done when you say these things. Oh, you can just let them go. Well, that's easier said than done for a lot of people. But just do this. Make yourself a list of the limiting beliefs that you have around money. Now, dig deep on this. If you look at people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and you feel negative emotion, then you've got some limiting beliefs about money. If you're worried about spending money, or you're worried about losing money, then you've got negative beliefs about money. Write them down. Write them down in the first person. I believe this about money. As many as it takes to get you there. Because that's going to be the base of which you need to work on. Now, everybody is different. Everybody has different beliefs about money. Everyone has a different upbringing. There are infinite different limiting beliefs about money. You'll hear the most common ones when you look at law of attraction videos and you're talking about wealth and abundance. because they generally have the same kind of themes, but your internal belief is going to be different to the next person. So write those down and get as detailed as you can. Now, when you've got that list of negative beliefs, now you've got a list of things to create affirmations on. Now, I'll put a link up to a video, I think it'll be on that side. I'll put a link up to a video on neuroplasticity, because this is really, really important when you're talking about the law of attraction and how to reprogram your mind to have less limiting beliefs and to think more positively. Now, you're going to want to watch that video so that you understand what I'm talking about neuroplasticity when it comes to affirmations, because you'll hear a lot of law of attraction coaches, a lot of manifestation coaches saying affirmations don't work. But here's the thing, science proves that they do. Now, they don't work in terms of you say them once and everything's going to magically come into fruition. It doesn't work like that. We know we're not talking about magic here. We're talking about science. Affirmations work by reprogramming your mind, and you need to do it often enough and long enough for whatever the affirmation is to be absorbed into your subconscious mind and become your default. Now, the comparison I always give here is when you're learning to drive or you're learning to ride a bike. At the beginning, it feels foreign. You don't know what you're doing. There's so many things to think about. Oh, you're worried. Oh, am I going to crash? How am I going to change gear? Remember to look in the mirror, or you're learning how to balance on a bike, that kind of thing. After a while, after practicing and doing it again and again and again and again and again, it becomes automatic. How many of us, if you drive a car, you'll know this phenomena. You're in the car, you're driving somewhere that you've driven 100 times before. You get in the car, your thought wanders off into something else. You start daydreaming about something else, and somehow you safely got from A to B, because automatically you're doing everything that you need to do to drive that car. I think all of us have at some point experienced that. Now, affirmations and neuroplasticity are no different. You've got your list of negative beliefs. You've got your list of limiting beliefs. Now just look at those and flip them round. For example, if you say to yourself, it's not fair that other people have more money than me, you can flip that around to say something like, I choose to believe that the universe is fair with the distribution of wealth and abundance. And by improving my mindset, I know that abundance will come to me. Now, you're taking that limiting belief, because that limiting belief, if you think it's unfair that other people have more money, then that limiting belief is you think the universe favors more people other than you. You think that you're not as deserving, or the universe doesn't think you're as deserving as the other people who've got more than you, which is not true. The universe, planet Earth, God, source, whatever you want to call it, looks at everybody completely equally. So you're as deserving as anybody else. You can take that affirmation and you can flip it round. And using the word choose is very powerful here, because if you use the word choose, it's not as resistant as other words. If you say, I am worthy and deserving, that brings up a lot of resistance. That brings up a lot of defiance in us, because we're saying something that our subconscious mind currently thinks is not true, because we're programmed that, we've got that programmed into us. But by saying I choose to believe, you're not putting that defense mechanism into place. I choose to believe, or I choose to think, or I choose to accept. It's a very gentle way of coaxing your subconscious mind into believing what you want it to believe. Let's take something else. Let's take something like take something as simple as, I don't think I deserve to be rich. Now, first of all, let's unpack that a little bit. Why don't you think you deserve to be rich? Everybody deserves to be rich. Everybody deserves to be abundant. Everybody deserves to have a happy and free life. Carefree, happy, doing what you want. Everybody on the planet deserves that. So why don't you think that you deserve to be happy? Why don't you think that you deserve to be wealthy? Because you do deserve it. You absolutely do deserve it. Now think about why you don't think you deserve it. You can probably, and I say this with 99% assurity, you can probably trace it back to when you were a kid. Your needs were probably not met. You didn't get the affection, the gratitude, the acknowledgement of what a good person you were from whoever that might be, from significant adults, from parents, They probably didn't mean it. Some are not good parents and do it on purpose, but most of our parents didn't really know what they were doing when they didn't meet our emotional needs as children, because their needs weren't met as children either. It's perpetuated. And you have the chance now to pattern interrupt that. You have the chance now to choose to accept that you deserve wealth, abundance, love, affection, whatever it might be. You deserve to have it in your life. You have the chance now to change that around, to bring that into your life, to pattern interrupt. So if we've got that negative limiting belief, I don't believe I deserve to be wealthy, then you can change that to a good affirmation is, I choose to believe that I deserve wealth. As simple as that. Now, if that could be your only affirmation that you use every day, stand and look in the mirror every day and tell yourself that every day as many times as you can. Eventually, and I promise you this, eventually it will become your default emotion. You will believe it. Your subconscious mind will take that belief and put it into your subconscious, and that will become your default. That is neuroplasticity. That is how it works. It will become an automatic belief, the same as driving a car becomes an automatic action. That's how neuroplasticity works. That's not woo-woo, that is science. So you've got your list of limiting beliefs. Now you've got a list, you can change them around into a positive affirmation. Once you've got your list of positive affirmations, what you need to do is keep saying them on a daily basis, consistently. Now this is the key word. Consistency is absolutely key. Completely key. It is one of the most important things in the whole of the law of attraction universe, in all the manifestation videos you will ever watch, in all the processes and the tips and the tricks. Consistency is key. You have to be consistent. That means getting up in the morning while you're brushing your teeth, say your affirmations to yourself in the mirror. Write them on a post-it note and put them on your mirror. Write them on a post-it note and put them on your fridge. Write them on a post-it note and put them on your computer. Put them in your phone as reminders that pop up every hour. Whatever it is that you need to do to remind yourself, to tell yourself these affirmations on a daily basis, do it and keep doing it. Now, the boffins reckon that 66 days is the average time it takes to enforce a new habit. So 66 days feels like a long time, doesn't it? But it's just over 2 months. And if you think about 2 months in the scheme of things, if you could consistently say these affirmations, these positive money mindset affirmations on a daily basis for as little as 66 days in a whole year. Just think about where you're going to be in 12 months' time. Just think about where you're going to be in 6 months' time. If you can do that, you've got it cracked. And this is the problem that most people come across. This is my problem. Consistency. This is what I have trouble with, is being consistent. I have to write myself little post-it notes and reminders and put them on my phone all the time. And sometimes even then it doesn't work. We're all human, but it's that consistency which is key and separates the people who manifest the money, the ones that have the negative mindset that they needed to turn around, and the people who don't manifest. That's it, consistency. Now the other key element, and if you've seen any of my videos on social media, you've seen me pop up on Instagram or even Facebook or YouTube, you'll hear me talk about gratitude all the time. You'll hear every manifestation coach, guru, advisor, all over the world, we all talk about gratitude. And it is absolutely key, especially when it comes to money manifestation. You've heard me talk about Ken Honda before. I've talked about him in previous videos. Ken Honda, look him up if you don't know him already. He's so lovely. He's a fantastic money mindset guru. He's a Japanese guy. He's got lots of videos on things like Mind Valley. He's been on all sorts of podcasts. Just chuck him into Google, you'll find him instantly. He talks about gratitude, about money and money flow very, very deeply. Now, if you don't have a lot of money at the moment, if you're not grateful for the money that you have, then more money is not going to come in. You have to be grateful for what you've got. Now that means things like, and I know this is tricky because I struggle with it too, if things like when you pay your taxes, taxes are something that all of us have to pay. Well, almost all of us. 99.999% of us have to pay taxes. And those taxes serve a purpose. They do at the end of the day. We might think that our taxes are spent frivolously. That's a hard word to say. And sometimes they are not spent in the best way by our governments. But at the end of the day, our taxes go to pay for roads, for schools, for street lighting, for the fire department, for the police, nurses, hospitals. All that money that we pay in taxes, it does go to keep our society running. Now, if you can look at it in that way, if you can look at it in all the positive aspects that paying taxes entails, then you're on the right track. Because we're really talking about two ends of a stick, aren't we? Here's our taxes. We can either think about it in terms of, oh, I hate paying them, it's a lot of money, they don't spend it in the right way, or we can choose to think about it in, it goes to providing for a better society for everybody, because that at the end of the day is what we all want, isn't it? And what about your bills? Nobody likes paying bills, but at the end of the day, when we pay our electricity bill, however high it might be, we have electricity. I have a light here lighting my face, so this camera picks me up better. I have gas being supplied to my house that keeps me warm in the winter. My house is nice and cozy in the winter. I have to pay for it, but that's just the way it is. And I'm grateful for the fact that I live in a warm, cozy house. When we go to the shops, now this is what Ken Honda talks about quite a lot. When we go to the shops and we buy groceries, be grateful that you're able to buy groceries. Be grateful for the person sitting on the till who's enabling you to pay for those groceries. Be thankful for the fact that you're even able to eat every day, because if you're watching this video, then you've got internet. Be grateful for the fact that you're able to pay for the internet. All these little items of gratitude can stack up to a big change in energy. So sit down and write down everything that you're grateful for, that you pay money for. And your mindset around money will change when you look at it in that kind of minutia. Now, the final and very important piece of this money mindset stuff is, are you actually telling the universe what you want? Because if you're not, how is it going to know what it should bring you towards? How will it know how much money you want to have in your life? How will it know whether to bring opportunities your way? How will it know if you don't tell it what you want? How does anybody know what you want if you don't tell them? The universe is exactly the same. If you want to earn a certain amount of money per month, then write that down. And write down what you're going to give in exchange for receiving that money, because this is important. Money just doesn't fall from the sky. Okay, a plane might open its cargo hold and cash falls out of it. Wouldn't that be great? But the likelihood of that happening is pretty small. So write down exactly what you want. Maybe you want to earn 5,000 a month. Maybe you want to earn 10,000 a month. Maybe you just like to increase it by 500 a month, and write down what you're going to give in exchange for that. Are you going to exchange your time? Are you going to exchange your experience? Are you going to exchange your services? Write down what it is you would like to give in exchange for that money, because there is give and take in the universe. You don't get things for free. You have to give something back. There's flow, there's ebb and flow in energy of everything we do. Now, we can give that a positive ebb and flow, or we can give it a negative ebb and flow. It's up to you. Write down what you want, be specific, and then the universe will bring the opportunities, and it will show you things that you need to see, and you will notice the things that you need to see to bring that money to you. That's all it takes. It sounds easy, I know, but if you start with the negative limiting beliefs, change those into positive affirmations, change your mindset around, just start to reprogram that subconscious mind, and you'll be in a good way. That's all my tips on money manifestation. It worked for me. It's worked for thousands of others. It can work for you. Be consistent. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye-bye.